Guys, we just got some major big news from the United States Supreme Court because they just agreed to hear a major gun rights case that could further reshape how we carry firearms in public. Now, this one comes from the great state of Hawaii, and it's not just about guns, y'all. It's about property rights, public access, and how far states can go when restricting where you can bring your weapon. So let's break down why this matters for gun owners across the entire country. Now, the case that we're talking about is Wolford versus Lopez. Now, it challenges Hawaii's law that prohibits concealed carry license holders from bringing a firearm onto private property open to the public unless the property owner gives permission first. In short, you can have a valid concealed carry permit, but you must get express permission from each private property owner to carry on their site. And I'm talking like stores, hotels, businesses. You have to get their permission first before you enter onto their property. Now, the Ninth Circuit Court, of course, they upheld the law earlier, but now the Supreme Court has agreed to hear its appeal. Now, the challengers argue that Hawaii's rule functions as a near complete ban on public carry because most places don't post signs that allow or deny carrying, and many property owners don't know to give permission ahead of time. And of course, the state defends the law as a way to preserve safety and control over guns in private spaces. In other words, they just want control, and they're using private property owners as a way to enforce gun control across their state. Now, to understand why this case is a big deal, you kind of need to understand the context first. So back in 2022, we had the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen. Again, back in 2022. In that case, the Supreme Court held that the Second Amendment extends to carrying a handgun in public, in other words, outside the home, for self-defense. And importantly, Bruen introduced a legal test. Gun regulations must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. And since Bruen passed a few years ago, we've seen many gun infringements unravel across the entire country, as they should. Now, just a year ago, we also had the United States versus Rahimi, again, 2024. Now, this case upheld a federal law disarming individuals under domestic violence restraining orders. The court refined how courts should apply Bruen's historical approach, emphasizing that analogies should be drawn to relevantly similar or historical statutes, not perfect matches. So Wolford versus Lopez is entering a legal field that's already shaped by Bruen and refined by Rahimi. And the court's decision here may push the boundaries even further. Now, arguments for those of us on this side of the line, we're going to say that Hawaii's law is way too restrictive. Requiring permission from each property owner effectively nullifies the right to carry in many places. The law lacks meaningful historical counterpart. There is no good precedent for making property owners gatekeepers for carry rights. And under the Bruen's test, regulations must align with historical traditions. Now, this law arguably fails that test because the restriction is too far from anything historically recognized. Now, you have people on the other side of the argument. They're going to say that private property owners should have a say about guns on their premises. Now, the state might even argue that restrictions on where firearms can be carried, even those by permit holders, are within the scope of permissible regulations, so long as they conform to historical analogies. Now, if the Supreme Court strikes down Hawaii's law, it may set a precedent that weakens permission property-based restrictions elsewhere. It could also broaden where permit holders can carry. For example, stores, private businesses, private property, etc., all without having the property owner's permission or sign-off first. Now, the Supreme Court's decision could be a turning point in how we interpret the Second Amendment in public spaces and private property. Whether they expand carry rights or uphold stricter limits, the ruling will ripple across all of the states, all of the courts, and of course, it's going to have an effect on us everyday gun owners. For permit holders, This could change where you can legally carry your firearm without fear of breaking the law. And of course, states with restrictive carry laws. I'm looking at you, California and New Jersey. They're going to be watching this very closely because they may face new legal challenges or have to update statutes if the ruling goes against them, both of which they don't want to do willingly. Also, this ruling will clarify how much weight property owners and private entities have in shaping carry rules inside of their venues. Now, for one, I'm looking forward to the Supreme Court dismantling this unconstitutional infringement once and for all. Now listen, if you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button because that will help push this video out to more people and help spread the news that these unconstitutional infringements are being challenged at our nation's highest court. Also, if you haven't done so yet, ensure that you're still subscribed to this channel because the platform that you're watching this video on right now is magically unsubscribing people without their knowledge. But hey, I'm sure it's all done by accident. So either way, I appreciate y'all's time. But before I let you go, if you haven't seen our new shirts yet, check them out down below in the description box. There are some damn good quality shirts, if you ask me. Again, I appreciate y'all more than you know. Thank you for the support. And don't forget, I'll see you at the next gun show. Take care, y'all.